I guess I gotta wait a whole nother week to find out what happens next. Yeah, sorry, today's video is a little bit later than I would have liked. It's just past 6:30. Normally I do this about, 10, 15 minutes earlier, but I really want to make sure I read this week's chapter of One Piece right before I got started. And it was so incredibly weird. Well, not weird so much as it is ridiculous. But, well, normally when you read, manga online, in order to turn the page, you have to, do like a double click, right? Well, that's pretty much what happened, but for whatever reason, my service today is slow. So, it took much longer than it should have for me to be able to read this thing. It was about, let's see, there's 20 pages in the chapter, like, about 16 pages long, roughly, like 16, 17 pages long, decent amount, decent length. Yeah, that's pretty much your typical chapter anyway. So, yeah, so I gotta wait like 30 seconds to go to the next page, which again is ridiculous. But that's a small price to pay for considering the fact that today is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Yes, it's Friday. We are here. And yes, I am still exhausted from what happened last night. If you saw my video last night on Avengers Endgame, sorry if it looked as if it was, somber. But I felt that I wanted to just take on the video in the same way I felt, after I was done watching the movie, which was, happy, emotional, and just, all around good. So I really hope it came across that way. I mean, I haven't heard otherwise, so that's a good thing, right? So, yeah, that was, again, having, well, actually not even 8 hours, but, an entire night, essentially, to, think it through. I have to say, I really don't think anything is going to top Avengers Endgame as of right now. I mean, as in, overall. I mean, come at the end of the year, you're going to have a few, Oscar contenders that are going to completely, shatter conviction and completely, change, people's minds about, how good cinema is. And that's all well and good. I saw plenty of movies like that near the end of last year too. Bohemian Rhapsody, Star is Born. Even something that was incredibly lighthearted and fun like Aquaman. You're going to get those movies at the end of the year. Although, considering that the end of this year we're going to get Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, if there was in fact any movie at all that could beat Avengers Endgame as of right now, or at least has the potential to, it is, it's Star Wars Episode 9. Man, the hype for that throughout the rest of this year is going to be huge. Should be fun, though. I actually can't wait to see what they do. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure it's going to be a good movie overall. I mean, everyone thought that The Last Jedi was great, and I still think it's great. I have no idea why people all of a sudden, change their minds. But, that's just what it is. So, yeah, that was, again, if you have an opportunity to see Avengers Endgame, please go see it. This is the kind of movie that makes you hate bad movies even more. That's what I've come to realize. See that, see Shazam, see Missing Link, and if Captain Marvel's still out, go see that. And, yeah, I don't think How to Train Your Dragon is in theaters anymore. And, Dragon Ball Super Broly was only in America for about a week. See, I'm still tired from last night. What can I tell you? So, I couldn't tell you, what, goes wrong next. But, I can tell you some other things, such as, yesterday for Hot Ones, the Hot Ones Museum of Curiosities. It's always a pleasure to see that. Sean Evans did the, Q&A. And I will admit, normally I don't really pay, much attention to the Q&A. Well, normally I wouldn't, but considering that we're not going to get a new episode of Hot Ones or season 9 of Hot Ones isn't going to start until, like, May 23rd, which is ridiculous. I figured, you know what, I'll try and be a little more invested. Because, I love Hot Ones. I love the people first we feast. I love what they do. I owe it to them to, pay attention and, be really invested. And I was. And it was really fun, I mean, yeah, it was a simple Q&A, but, there's a lot of interesting questions that you get out of a, Q&A. Some of the questions that were, keep in mind, I don't remember every single question that was asked or, answered or whatever. So there's no way I'm going to tell you everything in explicit detail what happened. But, some questions that definitely stuck out to me is, after Gordon Ramsay, who's the most requested guest that you've yet to get on your show? That was a question. Another question. What if you have hot sauce at all outside of the office, what do you use it on? And, stuff like that. Or, what was another one he had? There was one that, was actually really interesting. Oh, and of course, you have the classic questions like, of all the guests you've had so far on Hot Ones, who's been like the most, what was the most exciting or weirdest guest you had? Stuff like that. It's pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but, it is what it is, and, that's fun. So, overall, I'm glad that lots of people really like the show. I'm glad that a lot of people really like, answering these questions. But one question that actually did get my attention is, what's a guy like me got to do to get on your show? And, I've said before doing these videos many times in the past that, I would like to be on Hot Ones. I would. So, of course, it's a question that I had to pay attention to. And Sean's answer was it was profound, but also very generic. Basically, you gotta ask yourself, if you want to be on Hot Ones, you gotta ask the question, what can you do for everyone else that is essentially kind of like a game changer? What's gonna get you noticed? What do the people around you want, who like Hot Ones and like the show, what do they want to see? What do they want to see in general, and what do they want to see potentially out of you, is what it generally boiled down to. Which, again, not the most straightforward answer, but, there's some deep meaning behind it. There's some, it gives you something to think about, which is always a good thing. I'm a bit of a thinking guy myself, so I totally get the comparison. And yeah, now we have to wait a very long time until season 9. Well, the good news is it's going to be, May a week from now. And seriously, May 23rd. I mean, I get that, the people at First We Feast and Hot Ones, they have lives, but I'm going to go crazy without any Hot Ones. I mean, what am I going to say? Well, actually, there's plenty I could talk about, so I guess I'm not really going to find a shortage of that. But I still want to see it. I still want to see, what happens next because, again, and I've said this before, I'm really worried that ever since they got Gordon Ramsay, they may have actually potentially jumped the shark. I hope not. I really hope not. Because I'd feel quite sad if that was the case. But, it is what it is, and I'm sure season 9 is going to be awesome. But enough about that. How about we get into talking about something that I've been looking forward to outside of Avengers Endgame, and that's the draft. Now, admittedly, one of the reasons why I stayed up late was because as I was waiting for the video from the movie reaction last night to upload, I figured I'd watch the first 10 picks of the draft because I really wanted to see if the Arizona Cardinals picked Kyler Murray, and they did, which is great. I like Kyler Murray. I really think he's going to go big. He'll go big in the NFL. He's going to do great. At least, I hope so. That's actually one thing that a lot of people tend to forget about what happens after a player is drafted. I mean, whether we like the player or not, whether we like the team that picked them or not, or whatever. At some point, everyone hopes that pick succeeds. We do. I mean, even back when you had people like, a big example of this, believe it or not, is way back when, people like Johnny Manziel or Tim Tebow or Sam Bradford, plenty of people had their doubts, but, I'm sure that, after they were picked, they were still thinking, I hope they succeed. Because, getting drafted in the NFL or getting drafted into any professional team, that's huge. That's really important. That's awesome. It definitely takes more talent and ability than I could ever hope to produce. So, for those reasons, I'm usually more on the optimistic side whenever, a draft pick is made. Just because, I want them to succeed. I want them to go far. I want them to make a name for themselves if they haven't already. It's just, it's good karma is what it is. And, I mean, you guys know me at this point. I try and, keep it classy, keep it clean. Because, again, what goes around comes around. I mean, more often than not, I've had, karma have its way with me in a negative way. I've had karma have its way with me in a positive way. But in the end, I just learned that, if something bad happens, there is a reason for it. Of course, that doesn't make it all the more sad if something bad does happen. Personally, I feel that if you are an NFL draft prospect, I hope that, again, you succeed as an individual. I hope you succeed with your team. I hope all the best. Especially for my Dallas Cowboys and you get Leighton Vander Esch. As well as Connor Williams and Michael Gallup. So like, favorite, share, and hit the subscribe button. I could really use the support on YouTube. Follow me on the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. As always, I'm very humbled I made this video for all of you guys to watch and enjoy today. I'm very hopeful that we all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Friday. And remember, if any of you guys don't want to talk, which I'm always going to be here to lend an ear. And I'll always have your back. Take care and make good choices.